Okay guys, today we're going to be completing lesson 5. Lesson 5 is very similar to lesson 4. The learning target is going to sound different, but in a second you'll see that it's pretty much the same. So our learning target is I can decompose fractions using area models to show equivalence. So remember that decompose means to break down. So again, we're breaking down fractions, but we're going to use area models. These area models are very similar to the tape diagrams. So of course we're going to have our rectangle, but instead of always drawing our lines to partition vertically, we're now going to draw our lines and partition horizontally. So as you can see, this model looks more like an area model than this one does. So that's really all that we're doing today. So our first problem is draw an area model that is partitioned into 5 equal parts. So I'm going to draw my area model and partition it into 5 equal parts, which means I need 4 lines. Then it says to shade in one part. So when I shade in that one part, it says what is the fraction shaded? Well, I have 5 equal parts and one part is shaded. So my fraction shaded is 1/5. Well, now it says draw a horizontal dotted line to decompose or to break down the whole into 2 equal rows. So one thing that's important, columns go down like columns of houses. Rows go across like rows of seats. So we want to draw horizontal lines to show 2 equal rows. So we want to show 2 parts essentially. So that means I need to draw one dotted line across. And you can see now we have 1 row and we have 2 rows. So what happened? Whenever we had 1/5 and then we divided the whole into 2 rows, what happened? Well, you can see that the area model doubled. So I'm going to say 1/5 doubled. Or you could say the area model doubled. So instead of having 1/5, how many do we have now? Well, we have tenths. So the model changed to tenths. How many tenths are shaded? Well, I have 1/10, 2/10. So 2/10 are shaded. So let's think about the relationship between 1/5 and 2/10. So here I have 1/5, and on this side I have 2/10. If you look here, it looks like an area model. So 1/5 is equal to 2/10. So again, it's just like yesterday, except we're showing it in a different way. So instead of showing vertical lines, we're now showing horizontal to make it more like an area model. All right, let's look at our next problem. Now it says to draw an area model that is partitioned into 3 equal parts, and then to shade in one of those parts. So again, here's my area model. I need 3 equal parts. And and it says to shade in 1. So what is my fraction shaded? Well, I have 1 out of 3. So I have 1/3. So let's think about how can we decompose 1/3 to show 4/12 by drawing horizontal lines. And we're going to draw it on our paper. So I am trying to get from 1/3 to 4/12. So how can we do that? Well, if I divide it in half, that's only going to give me 6. Okay, well let's try 3. If I divide it into 3 equal parts, that would give me 3, 6, 9. So that's not correct. What about 4? 4, 8, 12. Oh, that would give me 12. And if you remember from yesterday, we talked about, okay, well, what happened from 3 to 12? Well, if we multiply by 4, 3 times 4 will give us 12. So that tells me we need 4 rows, which means we need 3 lines. So the easiest way to do that is to draw your middle line and then draw your other middle line and your last middle line. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 equal parts. So we had 1/3, and then we have how many equal parts are shaded? I'm sorry, guys. So we have 1/3, and we made 4 equal parts, so we're multiplying that by 4. And so when you do that, you get 4 parts shaded, which is 4/12. All right, so how many equal parts do we have? We have 12 equal parts. And how many 12ths are shaded? We have 4 12ths that are shaded. All right, last one. Now we have 1/2 equals 5/10. So we want to represent this equivalence using an area model, and we're going to draw it. So we always want to start off with our first fraction, which is 1/2. So I'm going to draw an area model or a tape diagram that shows 1/2. And remember, you need to shade it in to show 1/2. Well, how can we change this 1/2 into 5/10? Well, again, let's look at our denominators. How can we go from 2 to 10? Well, I know that 2 times 5 gives me 10. So that means I need 5 rows, which means I need 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now guys, technically I might add this little bitty spot, and this will actually be my 4th line, sorry. Because you want them to be kind of even, so if they don't look even, try to fix it. Alright, so with that being said, when we decomposed 1/2 into 5 rows, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 equal parts, which is what we wanted. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shaded in. So it looks good. All right, now we're gonna practice on our problem set. So I need you to turn to lesson 5, which is page 21 in your workbook. So here's page 21. And what we're going to do is we're going to finish completing A, and then we're going to do B. So it says draw horizontal lines to decompose each rectangle into the number of rows as indicated. Use the model to give the shaded area as both a sum of unit fractions and a multiplication sentence. So over here you can see that they originally, before they put the dotted lines, they had 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see 1 out of 4, which is equal to, well, we have 2 shaded, so they put their 2 out of how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1/4 is equal to 2/8. To write this as our unit fractions, we know that 1/4 is equal to 1/8 plus another 1/8, which is equal to 2/8, because we have 1/8 and 1/8. And then our multiplication sentence can be 1/4 is equal to 2 times, well, what fraction did we write 2 times? 1/8, which is equal to 2/8. So again, very similar to yesterday's lesson, except our lines are now being drawn horizontally. All right, so for B, it says that they want 2 rows. But first, let's write our original fraction. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have 1 shaded. So our original fraction is 1/5. So if I want 2 rows, then I need to partition or divide, decompose this fraction into 2 equal parts. So now I have 2 shaded, 2, out of how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1/5 is equal to 2/10. So now let's write our unit fraction. These are no longer 1/5, but they are 1 piece out of how many? 10. So this is also 1/10. So we have 1/10 plus 1/10 is equal to 2/10, which is equal to 1/5. And lastly, we can write this as a multiplication sentence. We wrote the fraction 1/10. How many times? 1, 2, 2 times, which is equal to 2/10, which we know is also equal to 1/5. All right, so you will do C by yourself in a second. Number 2, I want to do A with you. So on this side, you're taking the equivalent fractions and now you're drawing them, just like we did for this problem here, where we had 1/2 is equal to 5/10. So now we have 1/2 is equal to 3/6. So I'm first going to draw my area model. And I'm going to split it into 1/2. Okay, now how can I get 3/6? Well, what can I multiply by 2 to get to 6? 3. And it's also our numerator here. We need 3 rows, so we need 2 lines. All right, so let's check and see. Do we have 3 shaded parts? 1, 2, 3. Yes. Do we have 6 parts altogether? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. So I know my drawing checks out. However, they still want us to show and represent the sum of the unit fraction, so we need to write our addition sentence, and the multiplication sentence. So our unit fraction, we now have 1 out of how many equal parts? 6. So this is 1 6, 1 6, and 1 6. So we would write 1 6 plus 1 6 plus 1 6 is equal to 3 6, which is also equal to 1/2. And then our multiplication sentence, we know that we wrote 1 6 how many times? 3 times, which is equal to 3 6, which we know now is also equal to 1/2, because half of 6 is 3. Alright, you will continue to complete the rest of your problem set by yourself independently. When you're done, show it to the sub, and then grab your exit ticket.